Welcome to the After the Show Movie Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Cidtalk, we're addicted to movies.
Are you? Are you? Are we?
We are, apparently. That guy at the beginning said that we're addicted to movies.
That guy.
I have no idea who it is. Imposter.
I mean, I don't know about addicted.
Well, I would say kind of addicted.
Well, I mean, you want to watch a movie every single week.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem, actually, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound very excessive at all.
It doesn't.
I used to watch
one
movies,
movie a week.
multiple movies a day for many years. So that would have been more of my addicted to movies phase. This is not the before the after the show discussion.
Breathe.
You just brought it up. So before the after the show was a tiny bit of this. You looking at A24 merchandise because you love A24 as a production movie making studio company, whatever they are.
I do.
And I heated me up some pasta, which of course everybody loves a bit of that. And that's it.
Are you going to be eating pasta while doing the podcast?
No, I've eaten the pasta.
Oh, okay.
That has been taken care of.
All right.
Mission accomplished.
That would be very enjoyable, though, wouldn't it? Listening to pasta eating, microphoned up.
No.
So let's get on with this podcast. It's Saturday, April the 20th. This is After the Show, number 836. We're a movie review podcast. Every week we look at a new movie. This week we're looking at the A24 movie, Love Lies Bleeding. It's a 2024 release, out now on streaming, rated R from our friends at A24. Cidtalk, can you give us a synopsis of the movie, Love Lies Bleeding?
Tormented people finding each other and deep, dark, murderous secrets looming over everyone.
I'll give you the one that A24 wrote.
Aye.
It says gym manager Lou falls for Jackie, a bodybuilder who is passing through town en route to a competition in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
That's also it.
that is it. That's correct. Okay.
Both of those descriptions match the movie.
Oh, that is true.
All right, Love Lies Bleeding, the latest movie from Rose Glass, director Rose Glass. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. Sometimes if I'm in a mood, like today it's kind of rainy, gray outside and like cozy. And I was just ready for a, kind of sullen, quiet flick. And that's
I wouldn't say that this movie is either quiet or sullen.
I think it's quiet. There's a lot of quiet in this movie.
It's a hell of a time. It's stuff.
Maybe we saw it very differently.
There's violence, there's action, there's love, there's sex, there's sweat.
There's a lot of sweat.
There's dirt and grime.
There's a lot of smoking.
And grossness.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoking because it's set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Established because they're bringing down, well, the clothing, of course, and the fact that no one has a cell phone and the vehicles, but also it is when the Berlin Wall is coming down.
It's Ed Harris says, since that movie Die Hard came out,
yeah,
everybody wants a gun, like a Glock or something. So yeah, we're in the 80s. It doesn't do the obvious and play all the latest hits from the 80s, though, musically, does it?
No, it really does. The only clues are the clothes, the cars, there's Walkman, and the fact that no one has a cell phone, and then technology that's laying around the phones and everything. But it doesn't is Drive set in the 80s? I don't remember. What's a movie that's set in the 80s that's like really power hits you home that it's the 80s?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
No, but that was the 80s.
Adventureland.
Yeah.
I think that was the 80s, but it was a movie from the 90s.
What was the one that we just watched that was kind of fun and murderous and crazy? Where she goes back to the 80s.
That's
that was like
totally killer.
Yes.
That
gave sort of that superficial.
I mean, it kept playing like Bananarama and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this one doesn't do that. It's just like as if it was made then, because when you're making a movie of the time, in the time, you don't exaggerate the time.
No.
You know what I mean?
So I did appreciate that they weren't playing the greatest hits of the 80s, because I didn't know any of the music, but it gave me an 80s vibe, synth kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Tell the story. Don't spoil it, but
There won't be spoilers? That's hard.
It is hard. Let's have spoilers.
I mean, okay, on the cover, it says Love Lies Bleeding. There's a muscle lady with a gun in her hand. I'm not sure how much spoiling we can do.
Yeah.
It's kind of all out there.
I mean, that gives you the vibe, yes.
So we've got our main lady, Lou, who works in a gym and her life is kind of miserable. You can tell she's somehow punishing herself. She's just unhappy, boring, blah, blah. Then another person comes into the gym. She's building up her muscles. They kind of hit it off. They become a thing. And then we meet Dad, who's like a crazy bug-loving, long-haired, gun range-owning Ed Harris.
Yes.
Who pretty much instantly, there's darkness there. We get little red flashbacks of someone being murdered, but that's just sort of flashed throughout the movie. You don't know really what the circumstance is. So he's a bad guy. Her mom's out of the picture. Her sister gets beaten up by her husband.
It's not nice. Everything is not nice.
It's grungy and dark and brooding and quiet. That's what I'm saying. It's very... every scene gives you time to breathe with the people and their reactions, Mm-hmm. And then as we go along, of course, the abusive husband of her sister is extra abusive. And then that's where potential Dad's skills in crime might come in handy. Let's just say it that way. But there's also shooting up steroids.
Yeah, there's a steroid plot.
Yeah, her goal when she walks into town is that she's hitchhiking to Vegas to be in one of those muscle building competitions, where you pose all your muscles and stuff. That's the drifter's goal here. And it stays her goal throughout. She's working out every day. She's taking the steroids. She's building up her muscles. And some weird stuff happens.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an A24 movie without something weird.
I actually love, and you know me, I'm not a muscle builder person or anything, but when they show the close-up of the muscles and the veins as if...
Oh, God, it's horrible.
Oh, I loved that. I thought that was really... Because it's like...
I find it horrific.
It plays this stretching sound, like her muscles are actually stretching in that moment.
Like exploding almost.
When she gets... So here's my analogy of this, and yes, it's going to be spoilery. So can you cope with that?
Yes, go and watch the movie. I recommend the movie. Go watch it.
Yes, it has actually a really... I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't know about the quality of the overall story. So we're going to liken this to She-Hulk. Because this muscle builder lady, when she gets really emotional, either turned on or someone else that she cares about is really emotional.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You zoom in on her. Now, we're not talking about you see a Hulk. We'll save that till the end of the movie. And she's not a Hulk, but you see her muscles grow and she gets like blinded by emotion and she goes into like what could be considered a steroid rage, right?
Yeah.
Or something else weird is happening where she's actually pumping up to be like 10 feet tall. But we don't know. That's like hinted at. So I might be making it sound weirder than it is, but you've watched the movie now. You paused us and you went and watched it and you've come back and now you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Stuff happens in the movie where it might not actually be happening, but visually.
But it might.
Yeah, it might be.
You know?
Yeah, we don't know. And it's like it doesn't matter, actually.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter because it's really about relationships and broken people and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, these people are broken like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this drifter coming into town, when she comes into town, she has sex with a man in the back of a car, and then he gives her a job because of that. And turns out that man is the husband of...
The abusive husband.
The abusive husband.
And the gun range where she goes to work is
it's
owned by the father.
Basically, she collides with this family and life's not going to be the same after that.
True. And also we have the FBI lurking around.
Yes.
So I forgot about
Which
that.
made me nervous a lot because they were doing things that you were kind of looking at the screen going, why are you doing that? Why aren't you waiting until nighttime?
Yeah, including bodies in carpets. Like,
why are you dragging a body down the stairs in the middle of the day?
Here's what I told you after we watched it. I said, it's like the back end. I wondered if it was based on a true story at all, but I don't think it is.
It is not.
But it actually is the background story. If you're a person like me who can sit for many, many hours watching like Forensic Files and Snapped and all those other 48 Hours or whatever where it's telling you,
True
1987, they looked like a happily married couple, but behind closed doors, things were happening. And then she turns up dead, and then it's blah, blah, blah. You know, this could be the back end of one of those stories, because it's like the muscle builder comes into town, the FBI is lurking around, there's crime, there's abuse, there's dead people in a crevice. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it could have been based on one of those, kind of like, what's that one we watched? Pain and Gain, you know, because that was supposedly
that was a true story.
Loosely based on a true story, where it's wacky and weird, and you're like, but I buy it. I believe people could do this crazy shit.
I don't. At this point in my life, I've seen so much stuff, and it's true stuff. Anything is game, you know?
Yes.
Well, that story about that crazy lady who did this and that and the other, I'm like, yeah, well, okay.
Makes sense.
Of course she did.
Of course she did.
Yeah. There's always somebody who's going to do something that you're like, that's crazy. But yeah, nothing seems crazy anymore. Is that just getting old?
Desensitized a bit. Like, I don't want to make it sound like acknowledging or somehow supporting the idea that love equals murder or revenge, or that getting sexually excited about someone or falling in love with someone because they've done something violent for you. I'm not into that. But this story reflects real life stories where people do that crazy shit. So
it's like a grimy crime thriller. Would you call it a crime thriller?
No.
You can't really put A24 movies in a box, though, because they're often, it might be one thing, but then it's another thing as well. Like, because this is like a love story. Like True Romance is a love story, but it's also splattered in blood and craziness. This also has that kind of vibe. It's these two love each other, but everything is fucked up.
Yes.
And the cops are on the tail and all that stuff. Oh, yeah, it's a good comparison to True Romance. There you go.
I mean, it isn't, because it isn't. That's a whole different thing. And that's a Precious movie. You're trying to step on the toes of a Precious movie in my life, but whatever.
But you see what I'm saying.
Two people who stumble into crime, and then in the end, all of the bad people end up being murderous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did really like about this movie was the look of the movie. And it is the most sweatiest, like dirtiest looking movie. And it commits to it. Huh?
You liked that?
Yeah, I liked it because it commits to being sweaty and dirty from the first frame. When it has a really cool opening sequence, actually, where the camera pans out of the sky. It pans slowly down into this gym. And then you realize, like, it shows the reality of a gym, you know, people doing the thing, the people really sweating, and then just regular people. And you can just smell that gym immediately.
Yes.
And then she's cleaning the toilet. It's a bit like the toilet from Trainspotting.
Oh, it's nasty.
There's a lot of grossness. There's vomiting, there's blood, it's pretty gross. It's not for the weak of stomach.
You feel like you can kind of smell it?
Always. Yeah. There's just unexpected vomiting. There's a lot going on in this movie. I really enjoyed it. I liked the lead characters. I liked, as it starts to unfold, it seems pretty obvious what's going on, doesn't it? It's pretty straightforward, the story.
See, that's why my mind wandered a bit. And I'm thinking, because we have had the FBI introduced in the beginning. Clearly, they're looking into Dad. And then as we see the little flashbacks, and Dad owns a gun range, and we see Dad hacking up weapons in crates of corn and coffee. So you're like, okay, Dad's doing some shady shit. I actually thought and then I kept thinking of the name of the movie, Love, Lies, Bleeding, which it could be a sentence or it could be just three things, right? Love, lies, and bleeding. And I thought, oh, is our muscle bit lady an FBI agent? Is the lady with the bad teeth an FBI agent? Like crazy fucked up. There's a lady who is very enamored with our lead character, Lou, who works at the gym and everything. And she's over the top. Like she's really irritating and really like desperately wants Lou to love like her. You know what I mean? They've had encounters, you can tell. And now she's enamored. But I thought, well, maybe one of them, we're going to end up in a dark alley somewhere where one of them approaches the FBI and they're like, look, I'm doing everything I can to get you this guy. But our muscle builder, I thought, I was making up a whole other storyline. She was really falling in love with Lou. And now she's tormented because she also does a very terrible crime. And I thought, oh, if she's really an FBI agent, But I made it all up. She's not.
You did make it all
I
up.
made it all up. She's not that at all. But my mind wasn't wandering because it wasn't good. It was like I was trying to figure out these people and motivations and, was she really just a drifter who showed up and...
Yeah, it's not really a twisty and turny movie. It's a straightforward plot.
It is actually.
Yeah,
it's just not... And that's where it has a little bit of weakness occasionally for me.
Yeah, there's nothing where you're going, oh, wow, I wonder if it's that, and then it turns out to be that, because it's all telegraphed up front, pretty much.
It is actually, yeah.
And even at the end, you're not surprised about anything. You're just like, okay, there's a bad guy, there's a good guy. There's a middle-of-the-road gray area guy or girl, Who's who and
Who's
what's
middle
what.
of the road in this movie? I just want to explain to me.
There's a gray area, isn't there? Jackie actually murders 2 people.
True.
Is she a good guy or girl?
Oh, yeah, I get you.
Yeah, she's actually kind of out of control a bit.
She calls her family and her mother says, don't ever call here again, you're a monster.
Right.
And then you're like, ooh, we never get any explanation for that whatsoever.
She also, at the bodybuilding contest, she aggressively goes after some people.
She does, but then they keep making it seem as if it's the steroids that are making that happen, right? Because she's shooting up a lot of extra steroids, and we don't know her backstory. And so here we'll just fill in a little bit. She does show up, goes to the gym. It's a gym. And at one point, Lou, our lady who works at the gym, who's torturing herself, the daughter of the criminal guy, says to her, so you just rolled into town and you had sex with my brother-in-law to get a job at the gun range, and now you're having sex with me so that you can have a free membership. And then you're like, oh, is that a game? Is that her game?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
This number 5 or number 50?
Yeah, is she working her way across the country, using herself and relationships to get to her muscle building show at the end, which, again, people do things. I wouldn't have questioned that.
No.
But then she does. I do believe that they fell in love with each other, though.
I do. Let's get on to the cast. Kristen Stewart plays Lou. What do you think?
Really good.
She looks very sleepy and very messed up the entire movie.
She just looks tired and tormented. And as you find out more about her, you know why. Because she's punishing herself for things that she has done in the past. And she's tormented. And I know people who live their whole life punishing themselves, but they don't think of it that way. And I feel like that's what she's doing. And she does a good job of it.
I really like the choices Kristen Stewart's making after she was, in that big movie Twilight. And now, like later in life, she's doing stuff that I like, not Twilight. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, I'm sure that's her intention, just to do stuff that you like.
Katie O'Brien, she's actually a real life bodybuilder, or was, and got back into bodybuilding shape for this movie. And she's pretty convincing.
100% convincing, because it's actually, unless they did a really good face replacement, that's her body.
I don't think they did. Because she literally, there's a scene in the middle of the movie where she does a bodybuilding contest, and they show you the whole thing, don't they? Her turning around and...
I mean, I'm not into that, but I totally admire, and I'm same as with athletics or gymnastics or someone who wants to run faster than anyone on the planet or hit the baseball the hardest or be the best football kicker in American football, Australian football, or soccer football, whatever it is. I understand obsessive thing. And so to me, it just doesn't appeal to me, but I totally get it. And you can tell it's actually her body.
Now, this character didn't appeal to me, but I love the way the lady played her. And that's Anna Barishnikov, who played Daisy.
Yeah. That's what I said. She was super annoying.
Super annoying. And every time she came around, you were like, oh, please go away.
Yeah, she was awful.
But she played it perfectly.
Yeah.
I loved it. Ed Harris turns up here as Lou Sr. He's the father of the family, and he's also the horriblest bad guy of the family. He has an awesome haircut. The second he come on the screen, I was like, that is a haircut. I love it. I actually love it. Some people might say, what a terrible wig that is. No, I thought it was great. Perfect.
It was suited for his kind of odd behavior. Yeah. For sure.
And it was kind of like almost an old school, bad guy from 70s movies or something. Like this weird.
Yeah, because he was into weird bugs and beetles, and he was very measured about taking care of his daughters. The wife has gone or left or is dead. We don't know. We never get the answer to that question. the abused daughter, you can tell he's contemplated himself killing the son-in-law.
Yes.
But then he identifies that that daughter would be devastated if that, for whatever reasons. So he holds off on that. He just sort of watches over. And then this daughter, you just know that they don't speak, but he's, she works at the gym that he owns, and he kind of tries to help her out when the shit hits the fan. So he's an interesting character.
He doesn't say a lot in the whole movie, really, if you think about it. But he's actually really deep. Like, even just looking at him when he's saying nothing, you're like, oh yeah, I see what he's doing. He's doing that for that daughter. And he has to handle each person in the family different to keep them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Really good. We got Dave Franco, who's the other Franco, as JJ. What do you think of Dave Franco?
I mean, he did a good job of being an asshole. So I'll give him that. He was a really piece of work.
Yeah, he's not in it a lot. He has
just enough.
Yeah. And Jenna Malone, who was actually in the movie we watched last week, Rebel Moon. She plays Beth. What do you think of Jenna Malone?
I mean, she got abused. She was in the hospital. She was crying.
That makeup.
It was really hardcore.
I mean, she'd not just been abused. She'd been abused.
It looked like they are saying that he took the hot iron, and put it on her face.
Yeah, it was horrible. I was like, ugh.
What I liked about the sisters, and in the scene where you're like sympathetic toward her, right? Because the guys beat her up.
Yes.
When we meet her, she's got a black eye and a hurt arm, and everybody's pretending like nothing happened. But our sister Lou keeps watching over and looking at him like, you fucker.
Yeah, I've got your name.
So we know what's been going on. Then we have another incident, and Lou, the sister, I mean, bottom line is our muscle lady ends up doing away with the abusive husband. And then the wife of the abusive husband, the sister, is pissed off about it. Like, she wants him back. And finally, Lou, the sister, our main lady, looks at her sister and she's like, I love you, and I've been protecting you. Like, her kind of love is like real. She wants to protect her sister from abuse. That's a real, I say, in quotation marks. And then she looks at her sister. Finally, the penny drops, as you say. And she's like, you're a moron. Like, you genuinely want this guy in your life who literally just about killed you. And then it's like she lets it go. Then she's like, fine. And then she's pissed off with the sister. She's not just feeling protective anymore. She's like, at least he's dead and we don't have to worry about him, but you're an idiot. And I'm over it. Like, I'm done weighing myself down, worried about you, which I really like that scene.
So there might be more to this when you say, like, it seems pretty big. It might be more to it than you think when you think about it afterwards. You know, the scenes, like, even like really basic scenes that have a couple of lines of dialogue. There's a lot of behind the dialogue where you can go, oh.
Like, what do you mean?
Just Ed Harris, like I say, he doesn't say a lot, but then just looking at him, you kind of know what he's thinking, which is a hard thing to pull off without telling the audience.
Yeah, you have to kind of think of the family dynamic and
that whole scene at the beginning where you meet the family and she's got like you say, her arm's broken and she's got a black eye. That whole scene there, you actually make it a whole picture of what's going on here, don't you? In your mind, and nobody's saying anything.
Yeah, you think it, but then you're like, well, maybe she was mugged or maybe she was attacked because we're not saying anything. But then it becomes very clear that.
Yeah. So directed by Rose Glass. She also did another A24 movie called Saint Maud, which we haven't seen yet. What do you think of director?
I think she gets out of people exactly what she's wanting, at least for the end result that we see, which is brooding and like lost in ideas of what love and being wanted and all that are about. And I feel like I get that vibe. So I think that's pretty good.
I really, really like the style of this movie. It speaks to me. It's not neon lit as such, but it's that griminess. It just looks awesome because it looks like filthy real life, like a place that's filthy, which is most places, to be fair, right? When you really look.
True. Very true.
All right, IMDB reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews that give movies 1 star, and you like to make fun of them because often they say things like, worst movie ever made, this movie's too woke, another man-hating movie, wasted my life, why does everyone love this movie? Like, they're just funny. Unless, of course, we also dislike the movie, and then we champion them.
Well, The first guy says, OMG.
OMG.
That's it.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. That's the whole review.
So that's a 1-star OMG. It could also be a 5-star OMG.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Second guy.
It could be like OMG or OMG.
Exactly. Second bloke says, what's the point? This movie stinks. All the scenes smell and disgusting. Oh, wow. From the script and the directing to the pointless movie. It's pointless. I feel nauseous every second. What is this filmmaker doing?
I forgot about the new classic of this movie has no point. I think that's fascinating.
Yes.
Like, just let it exist. You don't have to watch it again.
It doesn't need to have a point either.
True. See,
if it's a movie that doesn't need a point, then that's fine too.
I struggle with that sometimes, though.
Right.
Because I'm not great at just having fun or just enjoying a thing.
This one does have a point.
It kind of does?
Yeah.
What is the point then? What do you think the point is?
The point is, well...
Say?
It's a huge spoiler. That's all I'm thinking.
Oh, okay.
I don't really want to say it.
Okay.
Because we haven't actually said what happens. What actually happens. All right. And the third guy says, wasted time has more purpose than this movie.
Wasted time has more purpose than this movie. Okay, got it. I had to reprocess. Got it.
While I can say that literally the acting wasn't bad enough to make me quit watching early, there is a romance that is really the only thing that makes sense. They have a villain who sucks. He plays such a small part. The plot is really bad, and it's all twisted at the end. This is a movie like She-Hulk. It sucks.
Oh, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk's not a movie, by the way. But
also,
yeah,
She-Hulk doesn't suck. So
no.
Just to put that out there. Definitively.
So those are the people who hated the movie.
Well, there weren't very many, so that's fascinating.
There was more than that. I just could go on all day, though. This would be a long podcast. So let's give Love Lies Bleeding a score. I'm going to give Love Lies Bleeding a 7 out of 10.
I think 7 is fair.
Yes. But I think it is it's right up my street. I would definitely recommend it to you.
Would you watch it again?
Maybe not. It's not the type, like I would watch Hereditary again, right? I would watch Midsommar again. I would watch, there's plenty of A24 movies I would watch.
Would you watch Titane?
Yes, I would actually. It's so, yeah.
Yeah, Titane is very...
You might not get the same reaction the second time, you know? A lot of stuff like that is visceral, like, oh, ugh. And
or
then when you know it's coming, it's not the same.
What the hell's happening? That's what you'd feel like in Titane the first time.
So thank you to A24. Next week, we are looking at Jason Statham in The Beekeeper.
Right on.
Movie recommendations. I'm going with Drive, which is a movie that I really love. I'd watch Drive again. It's a cool movie. This movie had a vibe of Drive in some way. You get what I'm saying?
A little bit.
Just the visuals.
Maybe this is what about this movie. It doesn't quite go to that edge of whatever. The combination of the music, the visuals, and the broodingness isn't quite on that cutting edge, you know, where you have the sharp, where you feel on edge, you know, where in Drive, the music is very on edge.
Like a big part of the movie.
Right. And this is, you're just relying on watching the story progress, which is fine. It didn't end up having that, you don't come away kind of tired and exhausted from feeling tense the whole time.
No. But there are moments in this movie where you'll be like, ugh, wincing.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, the makeup on Franco's face.
Oh, yeah.
It was really messed up.
I don't think that was his face anymore.
No. Let's say it's not makeup, and then you'll be like, ugh.
Yeah.
All right. So my second movie is thinking of Kristen Stewart. It's Adventureland, which I think is a really underrated movie. It's very funny. It's very sentimental.
It is, but if you think about it, is it of its time?
It's very of its time, yes.
Right. Of its time, and not just of the time it's set in, but
Right. It's set in a different time to when it was made, yes.
Brooding and whining a little bit like Juno.
Kind of, yeah. But I think it's a bit more sweet than Juno is. Yeah. So they're mine.
Mine are from the 20th century, which is 1900 to 1999, and they're in the action adventure department. These are movies I've seen. I'm not advocating for their quality, just that I've seen them. So we have Life of Pi.
With the
Also has
tiger
the
on the
weirdness.
raft.
Yeah, it has a little bit of weirdness. The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, not that great.
I don't even know which one that is. Is it 1, 2, or 3?
I don't know. It's the one where they go in the thing with the dragon, right? The Desolation of Smaug, who is the dragon.
Probably.
Then we have The Green Knight, which was quite fascinating.
A24.
Yeah. And Big Fish, which would have been a A24 movie back in the day, probably, if they had.
It was a Miramax movie, Tim Burton.
Right. It was a bit odd, too. So you got a couple odd ones in there.
Actually, like Miramax, they were the A24 of the day, weren't they? They took risks on films a lot.
True.
And A24, I see them as that studio, the ones who like go, well, other companies wouldn't have Love Lies Bleeding, but we're going to, right? We're going to take a chance on stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, those are the movie recommendations. Ascully stuff this week. I've been playing a game that I can't talk about, but I'll talk about it next week. There's one of those NDAs, Cidtalk.
Why do you say that? I hate it when people say that shit.
Well,
just don't talk about it till... I know, but then just talk about it next week.
I've been playing a game all week that I can't talk about.
I understand, but that's so...
But I want to tell you that I've been playing a game.
Right. I'm just saying that's what I call YouTube lame. So just so you know.
I am lame.
In this instance, yes, that is lame.
But I have been playing another game called Death Must Die. It's another one of those roguelike games that I like. You still don't know what roguelike is, do you?
No.
It's the kind of game that you play over and over and you get more every run that you do, you become more powerful. So you get further into the game the more times you die. That's why it's called Death Must Die. You've eventually got to kill Death himself, right? And survive through it. And it's like a hack and slash kind of game. You're picking up different power-ups and you're leveling up your character. But when you die, you lose everything. But you get to keep one thing. So like it gets better every time, like basically. You just start off really weak. And I've done about 10 runs and now my character's like a real badass. I still get killed. But eventually you'll be so powerful that you won't get killed again. So it's called Death Must Die. It's on Steam. It's about $3. It's not bad at all. $3? Can't really get much for that these days, can you? Cidtalk, what's for dinner? And also, what is your advice?
My advice is going to not make everyone happy, but it is, to me, a truth that you are not doing the best you can do. Maybe you're convinced it's the best you can offer, like you're giving the most energy and you're spending the most of yourself and making the biggest gesture that you can make, or long, painful gesture for someone or something. You're spending the most money or effort you can manage. But like you're never really doing the best you can do, right? Because why? Because we all have a limit. We have a line we won't cross. We have a boundary we won't let anyone interfere with. It may be pretty tight, close up to you, and you might think you've spent everything and you've got nothing else, but every time you give your best to a thing from your perspective, you have to recover from that, right? So you bounce back and you have to whatever coping mechanism you have to deal with whatever it is, and then you go at it again. I don't know that that's the best we can do, but then again, what's the best, right? So if someone's having struggles and you know you have a little bit of the money that could help them, is giving them the money the best you can do? And if you do, is that the best for them? Like, are you doing the best for you or the best for whatever the circumstance is? And so I think that when people say, oh, I'm doing the best I can, it's sort of like a cop-out from whatever mistakes you're making or whatever you think is a shortcoming. How about we don't use the best as a measure? How about you're just doing, and that's it. You are doing. Now, if you're running a race to be the fastest marathon runner in the world, or you're trying to be the best bodybuilder, yeah, there's a standard. I get that. Like if you're making a cake, and it's in a competition that needs to be the best in the competition, that's a separate thing. I'm talking about you know what I'm talking about. Maybe don't measure yourself by the perfect/best. Measure yourself by nothing and just be like, I am spending what I can of myself, and then I have to give myself time to build myself back up. My own battery needs to be recharged, and then I'll go at it again, and whatever will be, will be.
Que sera.
I don't know if that's nothing. That's just like I would get a 1-star review for that advice from someone, I'm sure.
All right. Thank you, Cidtalk. Ascully.com is the place you can go to get this podcast. You can also go to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and find us on there. We also publish this podcast to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube, and TikTok. Well, we do post a little short on TikTok that will link you back to this podcast.
Correct.
You can email feedback to me at ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Cidtalk. She doesn't want your email. And stay classy, A24. I'm going to go back and do some shopping, maybe get a t-shirt from their website.
Nice.
If you are into A24 like I am, they do have a really cool shop. Their prices are really terrible.
Yes.
It's like $80 for like a sweatshirt, but they do make some cool things.
If you want to buy 5 t-shirts, but you decide you're just going to buy one for the same amount, then this is the place to go.
Exactly.
And I'm going to say, think for yourself. Oh, hold on. I didn't say what we're having for supper. We don't know yet. I was leaving it up to you, and you haven't chosen the sandwich of your choice.
Well, let's play the music here, because I forgot to play the music, so I'm going to play it now.
Okay.
And then we'll decide while this music's playing.
So what is actually for supper? And also think for yourself, or someone will do it for you.
And supper is Jersey Mike's.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.